All right, welcome to the very first episode of the 50/50 Sports Podcast. I'm Tyler.
What's up, I'm Connor?
This is just two friends getting together maybe once a month, maybe twice, and yelling at each other about sports and how much they suck. So we're going to start off today talking about college football since the season's kind of ended and come to a close. Kind of a bullshit championship game in my opinion. I was really pulling for Georgia, and going back and watching watching it live, I didn't really see it, but you can tell in the last play when Bama threw the I don't remember who caught that pass, but down the field, Georgia's one of their safeties had kind of pulled way too far in towards the defensive line and was just let himself get beat. So I don't know if there was someone over the middle that the camera didn't catch, but for my opinion, that's what happened, and it just pisses me off because that's just blown coverage.
I mean, that's Georgia's defense coordinator's fault, though.
Yeah.
Because they literally tried to run the same play the play before, and he got sacked for 15 yards. And then Nick Saban's like, we're going to fucking do it again. See what happens. And then they won the game off of it. So, I mean, as a Georgia defense coordinator, you should have just... They line up in the same set. Like, it's obvious they're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Nick Saban is known for beating things into the ground until they get right, so...
Nick Saban, the king of all evil in college football. Goddamn. What'd you think about the Badgers game against Miami?
I mean, that's how we should have played against Ohio State.
Yeah.
If we would have played that way against Ohio State, we would have won the national championship.
And I remember, I don't remember if it was Gus Johnson who was bringing it up during the Big Ten championship game, but talking about how Ohio State has all these athletes and how you can't really simulate that speed in practice. I kind of thought that was a little BS because we were playing against the same speed against Miami and we did just fine. So I don't know if it was just bad game preparation for the Big Ten championship, and then they knew how to adapt. I mean, fucking Paul Chris knows what he's doing, and I have all faith in him. But the Big Ten championship game was kind of a letdown, in my opinion. I mean, they held on. It was a lot better than what it was 2 years ago when it was 59-0, and the only highlight from that game was winning the fucking coin toss. God damn. But yeah, they played really well against Miami. Van Ginkel showed up. Hornibrook had a day. You want to talk about your future of the program, Danny Davis, for a little bit?
Danny Davis understands where he needs to be at times where he needs to be there. He has such good game sense, and he can catch balls unlike half of the receivers that we have. I mean, Jared Abbrederis was kind of the same way, where he knew what he had to do, and he got it done. So to say he's like a Jared Abbrederis type is kind of an understatement, but I mean, it's true.
Yeah, definitely true. Danny Davis, size-wise, is a little bit smaller, so he's going to be playing a different wide receiver role in the slot. But yeah, he has a great awareness of the field, and I don't remember if it was Wayne Larrivee or if it was Rock who made the comment about Abbrederis a couple of years ago when he was still on the Packers about how when you watch him and you watch Jeff Janis, I mean, he can run really fast in a straight line, and that's pretty much about it. But I mean, Abbrederis knows how to make a play from something when he's out there running his route. So, and Danny Davis definitely has the same thing. Watching him in the red zone when they're making a couple of quick short passes, it was amazing. Kid's got great sense, great awareness. He's really quick off the line. His acceleration is pretty fast. And then I mean, my guy is Jonathan Taylor. He's got to get a better control on the ball, and I've never played football before. I'll admit that, but I don't know how you teach ball control, but he's really got to get that harnessed and controlled next year. But besides that, there's nothing about him I don't like. He sees the field really, really well. He also does a great job hesitating when he gets towards the offensive line. If he knows he can just hesitate a few seconds and then break through.
He doesn't give up.
Yeah, he doesn't give up on the play either. I think there was a play against Indiana where he kind of just stuck behind the line for a couple seconds and then took off. I think that was for like a 20 or 30 yard run there. But yeah, he was insane this year. Definitely a reason why we are the running back university. Was there anybody on defense who really caught your eye this year?
I mean, besides Van Ginkel showing up in the Miami.
Van Ginkel.
He's good. I mean, nothing else you can say with it. He's good and he's going to have a future. So, but I mean, without, who's the safety? I mean, the linebacker.
Nick, you talking about,
we didn't have, he was injured.
Sichi.
Yeah. Without Jack Sitchy leading the defense, like, people stepping up, like, to, like, lead, it really helps out. And Jack Sitchy's not gonna be there next year, right?
Yeah, he declared for the draft.
Yeah, so having him out kind of was good for us because then we saw what our defense can be in the upcoming years and who's gonna step up and lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the other people leaving this year was Nick Nelson. And he was a corner, and he's pretty damn good. I mean, obviously you got your seniors leaving. You have Tyndall leaving, who has been a great addition to that depth in corner. But we got Dakota Dixon coming back. TJ Edwards, I knew wouldn't make it to the draft just because you watch him and then you watch linebackers in the NFL play on Sunday. And
yeah.
TJ is great player, great college player, no doubt, but he's pretty slow for an inside linebacker. So, yeah, but he's a great player, no doubt, in my mind. He's just not at quite that level yet. But yeah, I mean, they've got pretty good depth coming back on both sides of the ball. And I'm actually really looking forward to Chris Orr being back, so it'll be my guy to watch next year. I really like him. I think he's one of those guys that does all the right things that you'll never see all the time, and you won't notice. But because he does them, big plays can happen. So, and it'll be fun to see Van Ginkel come against just so you can say Van Ginkel.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, I really don't have much to say. Other than I looked at ESPN's too soon rankings for next year, and I think they had Ohio State in the top 4 when they're losing so many key players. I mean, granted it's Ohio State, but still, they're losing a lot of key players next year. And I thought there was one more team I saw, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But we'll keep it moving. We'll move on to the NFL coming up here. We got playoffs continuing. Surprisingly enough, the Jacksonville Bills game was entertaining. It was a defensive battle.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I really liked it. I like defense, but that's me. So.
Jacksonville's defense, no one saw them coming.
Yeah.
No one.
Hashtag Jacksonville.
They literally came out of nowhere. Like, maybe the Jacksonville fans were like, yeah, maybe this is the year. But everyone else, like, preseason ratings, Jacksonville was, like, top in, like, bottom 16. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
And now their defense carries them all the way to, the semis, like, I mean, the quarters. It's impressive.
I think one thing to kind of watch as they continue on is to see how Blake Bortles performs, because I mean you have Kirk Cousins, who's it sounds like is pretty much not going to re-sign with Washington, who is in my opinion to probably be, as much as I hate to say it because I hate Kirk Cousins, nothing with him going to Michigan State and throwing some Hail Marys against us, but I mean, yeah, he I think would be an upgrade from Blake Bortles, but I mean, there's so much going on with that team that, I mean, offensive wise, I mean, their line's a little too vulnerable in my opinion, but I think you get a good quarterback in there, you could have probably one of the best teams in the AFC for the next coming years. But yeah, you have to really upgrade that quarterback position, which is, I mean, for any team in the NFL. But yeah, and then one of the most disappointing games of the weekend was Atlanta and the Rams. Like, it was, I don't know. I lost. I mean, you had the big play by Jared Goff at the end of the half. And he gets like two 30-yard passes pretty much in a row. Mm-hmm. I mean they had to settle for a field goal, but they come in the next half and they just did not do anything, and they let Atlanta run all over them.
Just like the Chiefs.
Just like the Chiefs. Let the Titans run all over them. Mariota with the only player from the weekend with a receiving stat, a rushing stat, a passing stat, and a offensive lineman stat. Nope. God. Yeah.
Mariota stepped up.
Mariota.
Which is, I mean, he did that in college all the time at Oregon, but like he never really had a monumental place in the NFL. Like he never had his moment until that game when they came back down 20 whatever. 19, and then he led them to victory. Like, they have a future in him now. Like, if he was ever questionable because he didn't do anything, he is now not questioned because they know he can step up and beat a team who started off the year 6-0.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, they lost like Eric Berry right away, but the Chiefs were in all the position to win that game, and Mariota decided, no, it's my time to win.
Yeah, and it was really interesting to see that the person who I thought that would have stepped up that game big time, Eric Decker, did next to nothing, really. I mean, you had Henry making some big runs. I think he had that 30-yard run that almost went for a score. Yep. And then Mariota basically doing everything he could to try and win that game. But yeah, I mean, the Titans look exciting. They have some holes on defense. In my opinion, they kind of let their corners get beat. They're kind of slow out there, but the linebackers don't look too bad. But yeah, that was a really fun game to watch. And then Saints and Carolina, I only caught probably about last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter, but I didn't want anyone to win that game.
The Saints are hard to beat because they're probably the most complete team. I mean, they have 2 all-pro running backs in their backfield. They have Drew Brees, which, I mean, it's Drew Brees. And they have a solid defense. Like, they're probably the most well-put-together team in the playoffs right now. But they're so, like, well-put together, they have no real outshining, like, things. Like, so if one game gets shut down, your other game can't step up because they don't have that. So if they keep just a balanced, solid performance going, they will literally win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But as soon as one of their weapons gets shut down, I don't know how it's going to work out for them.
Quick small plug. Taysom Hill, the best quarterback the Green Bay Packers ever let go, in my opinion. He's playing. I don't think he's number 2 on their depth chart in New Orleans, but I think he's still on the practice squad. But damn, I'd like to have him back over Joe Callahan.
Okay,
that's me. But that's me.
Anyway.
I mean, Cam Newton did Cam Newton things, and
yeah, I mean,
he we'll leave it at that. Not a huge Cam Newton fan. But yeah, I mean, you're going in here. You got the Eagles, who
Carson Wentz-less Eagles
against the Falcons. You got Titans and Patriots. Who, I don't know if you saw that, but Bill Belichick.
Yeah, like, that's scary. That is scary.
Like, in depth on all the corners.
Like, all 5 of their corners.
Yeah. Could go, like, he named, like, 5 or 6 players on special teams. And
the man lives and breathes football. It's insane.
And it's like, I think he does a really good job of, I think Nick Saban's kind of picked up on this too, of delegating duties to certain people on his staff so that he can just focus on understanding his appointment, so that your coordinator can work tactics, and then the head coach can work strategies against the other team that you're playing. Anyway, so continuing on. So we got Jacksonville and Pittsburgh, and then we have the Saints and Vikings. I mean, it's no brainer. I think the Falcons are gonna destroy the Eagles. Nick Foles, unless he has some miracle up his sleeve, is.
I mean, he's not a bad player, but he's not a 13-3 caliber quarterback who's gonna take them to the NFC Championship.
I mean, Patriots. Patriots Titans is kind of tough to call. I mean, I really think the Patriots are gonna squeak it out. They're not as good. They're not your dad's Patriots, so to speak. They aren't as good as they once were.
Yeah.
And then I think the biggest game this weekend, or I should say biggest games, are going to be on Sunday. I think Jags and Steelers is going to be really fun to watch.
Definitely.
And I think Saints and Vikings is going to be really fun to watch too. In my opinion, as much as it pains me to say this, I think the Vikings are going to win the NFC. They have one of the best defenses, if not the best, arguably the best defense in the NFL. And then AFC, I think, is going to... I really think the championship game is this weekend between Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. I don't think New England would beat Jacksonville more often than not. I think I would take Jacksonville over New England right now, and I think I'll take Pittsburgh over anyone in that conference. So I really think right now Super Bowl is probably Vikings Steelers, unless some injury happens within the next 2 days. That'd be detrimental. Like shoot, I'm drawing blanks. Leonard Fournette would get injured. Or on Pittsburgh, you'd lose Le'Veon Bell or Howard.
Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown. Yeah, it's a real crapshoot, but I think that's what it's gonna be. And I think ultimately, I think Vikings are Super Bowl champ.
Yep, they have
God damn.
If they make it, they have home field. Like, that's gross in the Super Bowl. That's gross, and they have such a good defense that it's like the Niners all over again.
Yeah,
you just can't get past them. Like how?
And the thing is that if for the Vikings, goddamn quarterback,
Case
Keenum goes down. They can throw Bradford in there, who I mean is very capable. Who has worked with that offense before, knows what's going on. Or you could even throw in Bridgewater, who took I think 2 or 3 snaps this year.
I don't know.
In an actual live
honest,
game,
I have no idea.
I know there was a game they brought him in for sure. I don't know the exact number of snaps, but he did come in. He played a couple snaps towards the end of a game, like basically garbage minutes, but. Yeah, they have good depth there. I think the only problem is when it comes to running back. I think they're down to their number 2 and 3. So, yeah, they're down to Cook, and I don't remember who their 3 is. But yeah, I hate to say it, but that's your Super Bowl winner right there, Vikings 2018. Congratulations. Now you can stop whining about how you haven't won a Super Bowl.
All right.
Anything you want to say about the Green Bay Packers before we move on?
The Green Bay Packers. Well, I mean, changes are being made. Moves are moving. And I guess we'll see. Re-signed Devontae, which is good. I
think it'll be really interesting to see what they do with Burnett. I'd like to see him back. I thought between him and Haha, they're very understanding of the defense and can get everyone in position, especially their defensive backs. So, and I think Kevin King showed a lot of promise this year.
Injuries.
Injuries. Find out who the problem is on the strength and conditioning coaches. Get them out of there. God damn it. That, and I think that's a whole nother rant, but the NFL needs to get rid of the Thursday night games, at least in my opinion.
That's true.
Or at least rework them so that the Thursday night is coming off a bye week. so that you're well rested. But yeah, there are too many injuries in the NFL this year for there not to be a reason to question those. But anyway, moving back to the Packers. I mean, Josh Hawkins, who I really liked in preseason, showed some defensive awareness that is above where you think he would be. I think he could be a good 3 or 4 corner option on the depth chart. Your man Blake Martinez.
Oh, I love him. I love him.
Talk about one of the best inside linebackers
in the
NFL.
Led the league in tackles. Like,
great guy.
What else can you say?
I really like Jake Ryan. I think he makes a lot of quiet plays. They don't really notice. Vince Beagle was one person I wish you would have saw on the field more.
Injury.
You really only saw him during special teams, and then he took a couple snaps I think against the Vikings.
Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, you're right.
I'd say no more than a dozen, but he was definitely in there a couple times. And offensively on the side of the ball, I mean, you'll have 12 back, hopefully all year. Adams is back, like you said, and they signed a running back. I think yesterday. Some no-name guy, but that was our new GM's first move. As far as personnel on the player side goes, so I don't know why he did that, because you have Williams and you have Jones, who are both amazing, and you have Montgomery, who could still do something.
Yep.
I mean, he's not the best running back, but I mean, he gets an open hole. He can take off pretty quick in a straight line. So,
and now that he's not our only running back, we can put him back in like the slot or like run Wildcat if we need to. So like we have a more versatile offense this coming year than we have in the previous years, which should be good because it's more of a defensive focused year, obviously, because of Dom Capers being gone. And we're probably going to draft more defensive players than offensive players. So our offense needs to be mixed up, and it needs to be reinvented. You know the word,
yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be good this year if we can shake up the offense and come out with something that we've never really done before, because we have those weapons. We have a lot of young running backs. We have reliable wide receivers. The offense is gonna be even though, like I said, defensive focused year definitely. But the offense should be really interesting this year.
Yeah, I think the highlight of this year, if you want to look at anything besides Dom Capers getting fired, was the defensive line. Mike Daniels, what a guy!
Pro Bowler.
He should have been a Pro Bowler.
He is.
I mean, no Packers made the Pro Bowl team this year.
Mike Daniels did.
Was he an alternate that got put in?
Yep.
Oh, okay. All right, I missed that. Strike that. Reverse it. Yeah, I mean, and you had Clark, who when I watched him in college, and then watching some of his highlights and stuff when he got drafted, it's like, this guy looks like a BJ Raji who's just quicker and can move.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we got. And then Neal, who's also come in.
Yep.
On specialty situations and just created a problem in the backfield, or got into the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the Packers, that running back that they signed, Joel, I don't know how to pronounce that. Bogannon. No name out of NIU. I think that's just we'll see how he does in camp kind of a thing.
I mean, that's been our running backs for the last how many years?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the new offensive coordinator, whoever it may be, is hopefully someone that's going to utilize screen plays to Ripkowski.
Yes. Where was he this year? Like, he fumbles once in a playoff game, and then he's just written out.
He got a touch at the beginning of this year, and then I think he fumbled again, or he got a couple of yards, and they didn't give it to him. So I was like, yeah, you need to give him more touches in order for him to learn. But that jazz hands play that he made.
Oh yeah,
that was great.
Oh yeah.
Man, what a guy. But yeah, more screen plays, definitely. Especially they don't utilize the fullback position like they did with Kuhn. And that's what they need to start doing. And I think if you give Ripkowski the reps in practice and you start working on those plays with him and start, pulling him out every once in a while in a game, even if it's just a run with him up the middle,
yeah,
I think he'll be fine. And I think he'll come to be like a Kuhn. So, I mean, it's a hopeful season, hopeful look on the next season, like it always is. But I would say more so than ever because you have
so many changes,
and you have the
new GM, new defense coordinator.
You're gonna have someone on defense who actually knows how to coach, so to speak. But yeah, I think it'll be a fun year next year. So we're gonna move on to a sport that I'm not too knowledgeable about, but Connor absolutely loves to just throw in my face, and that is professional basketball in the NBA. Yep. Disclaimer: Connor is a huge Bucks fan.
Milwaukee Bucks.
He thinks Giannis is the second coming of Jesus, and wants Jason Kidd out.
Yep. Keep going.
So I actually did watch my first NBA game in quite some time. That was Christmas Day. It was the Lakers and the Timberwolves, and they had Shaq. Chuck, Kenny, all doing the commentary. Yep. Probably the best sports game I have ever watched on television. So many great lines. It was literally like you're sitting on the couch. There's commentary and actual analysis on the game like once every 5 minutes or so, but the rest of it is just them going back and forth at each other, and it was great. It was great. It was a fun time.
They struck gold.
TNT, do this more often, please.
It's just like when Dick Vitale and Bill Walton comment college games. It's perfect. It's just no nonsense fun. I love it.
Dick Vitale. I'd love to see Dick Vitale comment on an NBA game where JJ Redick is starting, and just to see him lose his mind over him all over again. Okay, so anyway, what do you think about the Bucks this season? What do you think is going to happen before the All-Star break? Do you think they're going to make any more moves, or do you think Eric Bledsoe was it this year?
Oh yeah, moves are going to be made, 100%. Because with our lineup and with the weapons we have, there's no way we should be 22-18 right now. 6th place in the East. Like, look at Miami. Miami is 4th place in the East right now. Who do they have? Exactly, because they have a good coach.
The big three have vacated.
And they have a good front office who understands how to do their jobs. Like, I mean, yeah, I like the Bledsoe trade. I think we needed a point guard who wasn't Malcolm Brogdon, but we traded away one of our bigs who we also need.
Yeah.
Because John Henson can't do it by himself. And Thon Maker isn't a basketball player yet. He has potential. He just needs to learn how to play basketball.
He's a 20-year-old kid for sure.
I know.
He's pretty young. He's still. I mean, I may be wrong, but there is a chance he could still be going through puberty and growing and learning to his huge body. I mean, take a look at Frank Kaminsky, who went from playing point guard his freshman year to his senior year. He was playing the 4 and the 5. So, I mean, there could be some learning curves there with him, with Thon. But
and if Kevin Garnett says, oh, he's going to be good, he's probably going to be good, coming from Kevin Garnett. So, we need... People are saying DeAndre Jordan. You heard about the DeAndre Jordan trade? Yeah. People don't want to do it because it's going to be like a placeholder, how he's going to be gone at the end of the year. But I'm like, no, what we give up for it is what truly makes it... Like, if we're going to give up Thon, I'm not... No way.
Yeah.
Because we need... He's like, not the future, but he's a aspect of the future that we can use. He's just like how Malcolm Brogdon was last year. Like, we're not going to trade him away. He's Rookie of the Year. So, we need a big man. Andrew Bogut, maybe.
Bring him back.
We kind of just need someone to rebound. and he can do that, like...
In the famous words of Coach Ken Gratz, you got to get those rebounds.
You got to get the rebounds because that gives more opportunities on offense, and the more opportunities you give Giannis, the more he's going to take them and put 2 points on the board for you. So, big man, rebounds, fire Jason Kidd.
Yeah, but who do you replace him with, though?
Anyone. I would literally walk up to the Bucks front office tomorrow and be like, we're defensive focused now, and they'll be like, you're hired. Like, that's all we need. That's all we need. Because we're losing games because we're just not playing defense because no one knows what they're doing.
Fair enough. I mean, nobody plays defense in the NBA, but that's me.
Okay, well,
that's
I mean,
me.
look at championship teams. They play defense. Look at G-State last year.
Yeah, you told me to watch that, and I looked at some highlights,
Yeah.
and you are correct that
And
G-State built their team around the fact that they could use certain players, whereas the Cavs just really focused on getting the ball to LeBron. And
Yes.
once Golden State picked up on that, they were able to win.
Yes, the Kobe Bryant diplomacy theory, where if you have the one king of LeBron, eventually the king's gonna fall. But if you have the democracy of the G-State offense, just like we have the democracy of the Bucks offense with Prez, Giannis, Chris Middleton,
Yep.
Tony Snell can show up.
Tony's.
But the problem is G-State had Defensive Player of the Year, Draymond Green, on their team. They also had KD, who was averaging like 2.5 blocks a game.
Yep.
They had Steph, who averages like 3 steals a game. They are so well conditioned on defense, and Steve Kerr recognizes defense, and he knows how to pick offenses apart, just like they did with the Cavs.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. We have the potential because we're all young and we all are willing to learn, but we have no one teaching us, and that's why Jason Kidd needs to be gone.
Yeah. Any favorites to make it to the finals this year?
The finals, I mean, playoffs are a long way away, but obviously G-State are going to go to the finals in the West, unless like Antonio Brown and Boogie somehow Dragon Ball Z combine to destroy their entire offense. But I think the East is really interesting, actually. I really like Toronto, always have since Vince Carter and Chase McGrady were on the team. But I mean, the Bucks always too. But I don't know. And the Cavs getting Isaiah Thomas actually playing now, it's huge for them because they needed a point guard. Because they lost Kyrie and then they had no one to. But Isaiah Thomas he has like better game sense than Kyrie does, but he doesn't score as well. But I mean, when you have LeBron James on your team, you don't really need to worry about scoring. So
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting, I think. The West already locked in. It's gonna be G-State. But the East, that's where the real story is.
Bucks and 6.
Bucks in 6.
So here's my question I pose to you, as someone who doesn't really like the NBA but enjoys college. How do I get into watching the NBA?
I mean, you would either follow like a single player, right? So who's your favorite college player right now?
That's a toss up between
More like a
TJ Schlunt
Trae
and Davison has been really fun to watch on Wisconsin.
Okay, but he's a freshman. He's not going to the draft. All right, let's use an example here. Let's say you were a huge Carlos, holy shit, Karl Anthony Towns fan. All right.
Oh, gross.
Say you loved you some cat, right? Gets drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves,
Yep.
and you're like, well, you know what? Timberwolves kind of suck, but I'm a huge cat fan, so I'll stay and cheer for the Timberwolves, right? And you follow that team, and now look where they are, 4th place in the West, 27-16. Cat's doing well. They got Jimmy Butler. They got Wiggins.
Wiggins, yep.
They had Adam Levine. And
And they just got Tyus Jones this year.
yep. No, he got drafted by him. But he played like summer ball for a while. But that's essentially how you get into it if you follow a player, is you just follow that player to their team and you like that team. And you stick it out with that player, because that's what people do when people get traded and stuff, like they go to that other team because they like the player. But if you like the team, you just watch the games.
Yeah, but this is me personally again. I don't see them playing defense, and that's what really frustrates me. So how do I get around that, or how do I understand the NBA's concept of defense versus a college concept of defense?
So the NBA is not college basketball.
Oh, I know that.
It's
for
less
sure.
structured. It's more fun.
Players can have a personality.
Yes, exactly. And that's like the joy of it. Like, but when teams actually do start driving on defense, that's when they win championships. But if you watch the games and you get mad about an aspect of it, just I would say just don't watch it, because that's like a toxic thing. That's like watching golf and being like, oh, they're hitting the ball too hard. You know, like that doesn't make sense. That means golf's not for you. So, I mean, if you really hate defense that much that it literally drives you away from the game, then don't watch it. But if you want to just watch basketball and you want to watch your favorite players play the game, just enjoy it.
All right. Fair enough.
Cheer for Giannis.
We'll take a step back here. We'll look at some college hoops real quick. Both of us, admittedly, haven't really been paying attention to anything outside of the Big Ten. Other than that, I think I've maybe checked a couple Marquette scores and checked a couple SEC scores. Tennessee basketball is starting to make a name for itself again. Kentucky is falling, which is nice in my opinion. Duke got did they get upset a couple days ago? Yeah, just a couple days ago. But other than that, I really haven't been paying attention. I think there's a guy at Oklahoma that's
Trae Young.
That's who it was. Mm-hmm. He's been looking pretty promising out of the Big 12. He's been fun to see some highlights on.
Yep.
But yeah, so Badger men's basketball. What a fall from grace it has been.
I mean, there was never really a pedestal to be standing on in the first place.
Well, they built it up to back-to-back Final Four appearances and a championship appearance. And then, they took a little step back, and we expected that. Mm-hmm. And that was fine. And, we still went to the tournament, which was fine. And the following year, we came back, we made it to the tournament. I think last year we went, Sweet 16?
Yep.
Before we were eliminated. And then this year, you've just fallen completely flat on your face, and there's no...
Have they really fallen flat on their face, though?
I believe they're under 500 now.
Nope.
They've got at 500 or under. They've got to be. Because they just lost to Nebraska on Monday. I'll pull it up here. They're at 500. I take that back. Mm-hmm. At 500, they're 9-9.
Yep.
But I mean, you look at who they've played this year, and they've won against, and it's nothing, I guess, too impressive. But then, I mean, you look at some of the games where they've kept it really, really close against decent teams.
Xavier.
They kind of kept it close against Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knew that was going to be a low-scoring game. What else do you expect? And UCLA barely squeaked away. Baylor barely squeaked away from us. UCLA was 2 points. Baylor was 5 points. Mm-hmm. I think the only game where we kind of didn't show up, so to speak, or I should say there were two, was the Marquette game where we just let Marquette run away with the game. And then when they just barely won against Western Kentucky by a single point. And those were two very disappointing games.
Just not going to talk about the Ohio State game. That's fine.
I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to that day. Let's be real. That's fine. I was more worried about the Big Ten Championship. Yeah, that was a game where they just kind of...
I mean, people have bad games.
Yeah, people have bad games. But I think this is an interesting year, and the fact of what's going to happen to Greg Gard and the coming years, I think, and it's been interesting to see who we've got. Like we said a couple minutes ago, Brad Davison has been really fun to watch. I think Trice has been really fun to watch when he's been in and not hurt. I like him. I don't know. I think he moves the ball really well. And then Ethan Happ is always fun to watch. He's a good player. Probably one of the best postmen in the country.
Oh, yeah.
But when you have key pieces missing, because who's out right now? Kobe King and Trice.
Oh, yeah.
When you have key pieces missing to your offense, and you don't have the right people coming up from the bench, you're gonna kind of start to slump a little bit. And I mean, Ethan Happ can't do it all on his own, so you gotta have someone to support him. One player that I don't like, but people want to see more of because of what he's done in this past year, not just the year before, is Van Vliet. People love the Belgian man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, guard has been very interesting in putting in certain players in certain games and keeping him out of other games, or maybe giving him 2 minutes. So it's quite the crapshoot.
Yep.
This year.
But I mean, we have one graduating senior. So
yeah, Maish.
Yep.
The Maish stash. One player who I haven't seen on the floor much this year, and we saw a lot last year, was Ilya Kanin.
That's true.
Alex has not been on the floor. I don't know what that's been about.
He's not that good. But
I mean, he's no Ethan Happ, but he's still he's a decent player, you know. Think about Jason Bohannon, who came from like, what was he, a 2-star recruit? Not even.
Yeah.
Came and Bo Ryan made him into a shooter from the 3.
I mean, maybe that's getting to it. Maybe him not playing is what is getting to him and causing his play to degrade, you know?
Yeah.
Ultimately it's up to the coach on who plays, and you need to make the best of what you get when you get in the game.
Yeah.
And that's what Davidson's doing. That's why he's starting now, because he worked his ass off whenever he got in.
He beat out your boy Brevin Pritzel.
Yeah, I know. I know. But I mean, like I said, we're a young team.
I think the biggest disappointment from the players on the team as of right now has been Charlie Thomas.
Could have told you that.
He had a really good freshman year. He had an all right sophomore year, and then this year has just been non-existent on the court.
Yep.
Even when he's in, he's not getting a lot of minutes, granted, but still, like, even when he's in, he doesn't make advantage of his time, you know. Whereas the same draft class, Khalil Iverson, has been fun to watch the past 3 years, including this year.
Started developing a jumper, really helps his offensive game. He's a weapon. Don't know what kind of weapon yet, but he's a weapon. I mean, his decision making's a little off too, like in the Sweet 16 game last year when he had the breakaway. You just do what you did all year and just dunk the ball, and then he goes for the layup and gets blocked, which costs us the game. But so, like I said, decision making on Khalil's part isn't the best, but once he starts like understanding how like the flow works with his teammates, and once he starts working with them, he's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think bringing up while we're still talking about Wisconsin, bringing up Tyler Harrell is kind of being a dead horse, but I still want a investigation by the NCAA into that. You don't just verbally commit to a school.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
and then
about.
decommit for no reason.
Yeah,
whatsoever. Know. I mean, and the thing is too, I don't think he's gonna. I will say I am 99% positive he will not start at Kentucky.
Oh no.
He's gonna ride the bench. So then you come into Wisconsin and it's not Bo Ryan's system anymore. I mean, it is still Coach Gard still uses a lot of his old stuff. He has gone back to using the swing pretty much full time, but it's not he's gonna sit his freshmen no matter what. Like if the freshmen come in and they're ready to go, he'll start giving them time. And what Gard does well, in my opinion, is he'll build them up each game depending on how they do. So if they do really well and they got 5 minutes one game, they're gonna get a little bit more the next. Which is basically what would be happening with Harrow. He wouldn't be a starting 5 first game.
Yeah.
Maybe in the exhibitions, but maybe against Stevens Point, maybe against Carroll University.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a up and down year. It's gonna be a interesting finish.
Yeah.
Come tournament time, I don't know if they'll be able to turn things around when Kobe and Trice are back. I think one thing that's really going to determine how they're going to do is how well they can play against Purdue.
Is that tomorrow?
I believe that is tomorrow. Is against Purdue, who is probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the Big Ten, in my opinion.
Oh no, that's the 15th. Today's the 11th, so Monday.
Yeah, Monday. So that'll be a key game to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Purdue is my favorite to win the Big Ten. They're
Not Michigan State.
No.
Wow.
I think Izzo is going to do.
Believe in
Izzo is going to do the classic. I'm going to make everyone believe that we're not going to be that great in the tournament, and then he's going to be full-fledged in April and somehow squeak out a Final Four appearance.
I mean,
coming from like a 4 seed or a 5 seed.
He is a March coach.
Never.
He hasn't been the last 2
Never
years.
doubt Izzo in April. God damn it. Yeah, I think Purdue's gonna win it. As much as people will pick Michigan State, I'm gonna take Purdue. Yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, there's nothing really worth mentioning on the women's side for Wisconsin.
I don't know
anything. It's pretty sad when University of Green Bay is ranked over your largest state school, so we won't really say anything about that. But they did get rid of their coach last year.
That sounds like a coaching problem.
I mean, yeah, it was. I think one of the reasons I believe got let go was because they let an in-state recruit that was pretty high go to GB. They weren't able to recruit.
I got you.
I think that was I think that was like straw that broke the camel's back to get rid of her. But yeah, get women's basketball in the field house so that it actually looks like that there's a crowd there. Move women's volleyball to the Kohl Center so that they can actually have bigger crowds. Barry Alvarez, do this. Also, Danny Davis. More of him, please.
More.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. But to bring up a high note on women's sports, holy shit, the Wisconsin women's hockey team did not. I mean, okay, here's the thing. Here's how you gotta. I'm gonna try to explain this. So
I have no reference to this, so go ahead.
So
do your thing.
Women's hockey went from one future Hall of Famer to another. So it was like going from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. But this is at the goalie position. All right. So last year we had Anne Renee, who was probably the best women's goaltender I've seen play in my entire life. And she had, oh my gosh, I don't know, probably like 5 or 6. She had at least 5 or 6 shutouts last year, doing really well. And then to unfortunately for North Dakota, but to our luck, North Dakota lost their women's program, unfortunately. And so we had fallen upon the luck of cannot remember her name off the top of my head. Shoot, hold on, let me find her.
You're doing good.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing so great with this.
Meanwhile, in the buffer, I'll talk about All-Star break a little bit.
Go right ahead.
All-Star break is a thing that's gonna happen. If Giannis doesn't make it, which I mean he will obviously, but if he doesn't, like, never mind. You know he's gonna make it. Let's not talk about that. But if he doesn't get voted captain, that's what I'm trying to say. And if LeBron gets over him, people don't understand. That's the future, my dude. It's not LeBron. I mean, LeBron is the best player, maybe like top 5 players. But Giannis is the future, and he needs this. So vote for Giannis.
Kristen Campbell.
Yep.
Kristen Campbell came to us from North Dakota, and she is what you call very good at her job.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that was my biggest worry next for coming from last year to this year, was who they're gonna have in net and rely on. And fortunately enough, we had this situation fall into our hands because the program was cut. She doesn't have to sit for a year due to NCAA rules, so she gets to start right away. And they've been ranked number 1 consecutively for I don't know how many weeks. I think they've maybe lost 1 game at most. But yeah, if you got a chance and you want to watch a good women's team, hop on down to the LeBron Arena and check out the women's hockey team. Yes, they lost to Northeastern. That was their 1 loss. But yeah, they've got a pretty good team here. I believe, Abby Rourke is leading the team in points, if I remember right, with 25. And I mean, she's also the top 3rd goal scorer on the team. Sophia Shaver, who is very fast, very quick. She's probably, in my opinion, the best rounded player on that team. And then Claudia leads the way with 11. So yeah, they're a fun team to watch. Highly recommend catching a game if you want to watch a good women's team play. And the men's team, they're having a bit of a struggle right now. I mean, they've been playing really tough teams lately. They had a series against North Dakota. I think it was their last series they played before the holiday break. And then they lost the first game to Penn State, and then they took Penn State to a shootout and lost in that. But I mean, they're not what they were 2 years ago, where they were struggling to win 2 games a season. But I mean, they haven't been playing cake teams. They've played Boston College this year, beat them. They've played North Dakota, tied one of them against them. They beat Michigan State in a game. They beat Michigan. They beat Minnesota. So they are I don't think they'll make it to the Big Ten Championship like they did last year. I don't think they have the key pieces like they did last year with Luke Kunin and Grant Bessie. Who Kunin is now on the Iowa Wild. I don't think I know he got called up for a couple games, but I don't think he's been playing much on the NHL level. And Bessie, I believe, is with a AHL team right now, but I could be wrong. Oh, sorry, ECHL on the Norfolk Admirals. But still, those are two big pieces of that team last year that we kind of lost, which is unfortunate. But we still got Ryan. We still have Ryan Wagner. Still have Cameron Hughes. You still have Trent Frederick, Seamus Malone, and my personal favorite, Will Johnson. But I don't think they'll make the Big Ten Championship, but I know for sure or make the Big Ten Championship game. But they may be a surprise team come March. Nothing more to say about that other than thank you for giving us Tony Granato, Barry Alvarez. Thank you for getting Eves out of here, and Wisconsin. So segueing that into moving up
Okay.
in the ranks
Yep.
of professionalism,
Yep.
we're gonna go and talk about the NHL here for a few minutes.
Oh man, more stuff I don't know about.
Yeah,
That's
I
cool.
know, right?
How are the Mighty Ducks doing this year?
The Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. They are no longer the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. It's been a very weird year in the West, specifically in the Central. You got teams separated by 1-2 points. I think the biggest separation in the Central right now is 3 or 4 points. 4 points between the Blues and the Stars. Blues with 55, Stars with 51. And the top spot and the bottom spot in the Central are separated by 12 points. So it's not a lot for separation. But yeah, and then you had Vegas come out with this hot start. And they went down. They had to go down to all the way to, I think they had to call up one of their AHL goalies at the beginning of the year. Because they had Lundqvist got hurt, or not Lundqvist, I apologize. Marc-Andre Fleury got hurt, and then PK's younger brother Malcolm got hurt. So they were scrapping for goalies at the beginning of the year, but they're still on top in the Pacific with 60 points. I think the biggest surprise this year for me has been the Rangers kind of bouncing up and down in the East. I thought they would have been a lot better than what they were, and also Boston Bruins playing consistently. That's been a surprise too. I gotta get my annual fuck Brad Marchand in there. Terrible player, does not deserve to be in the NHL. Ruins players' careers. Nice slew foot. But anyway, it's been really kind of an odd year for me too, especially just because I follow the Hawks and haven't really been able to watch a game because my work schedule got changed from last year to this year. So I work more at night than I did the year before. So I can't really catch much of the games. But the one thing I've kind of noticed about the season with the Blackhawks is that they've been inconsistent. When it comes to winning and losing games, they don't really get on a hot streak. They'll kind of win 1 or 2 and then lose 1 or 2, and I know part of their reason for kind of being up and down as of late is Corey Crawford, their starting goaltender, has been out, which sucks. I mean, it's like It's a big difference going from your starting goaltender to your backup goaltender, and then your backup goaltender having to go in every night and be the starter is asking a lot. So it's like Brett Hundley being thrown into the Vikings game, well. And that worked out well. But yeah, I don't think they're in a bad position right now. I really liked the trade that just happened last night. We picked up Anthony Duclair and Adam Clendening from from Arizona. And we only lost Richard Panik and some defensemen from Rockford. So, I mean, it adds a little bit more depth on the defensive side, which is nice. And Anthony Duclair is this forward who has shown he can score really well. He has a high ceiling, in my opinion, because you haven't seen what he's been able to do yet. Duclair requested the trade from Arizona, and I think part of that was playing into how much ice time he was getting. But I think they're in a okay spot. They have shown some upside. They scored 8 goals against the Senators, who last year were in, I mean, it's not the Senators of last year, granted, but the Senators who were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, put up 8 goals against them and beat Edmonton, who had a really good team last year. They kept Vegas within a goal. I mean, they're not in a bad position here at all. And And one thing I really have been noticing lately, and I mean the stats kind of prove it too, is that how much the power play has not really improved or gotten better at all. It's just kind of stayed the same. I believe they're close to last in the league for the power play. I think they're sitting at about 18% right now. Being able to score on the power play, which is a big thing. The penalty kill is just fine. It's in the middle of the road, which is okay with me. But the fact that the power play is so low is very troubling. Because that has nothing to do with your goalies being out. That's something that could be attended to and fixed right now. And they do have a couple more games coming up here, and then they have their bye week. So hopefully recharging the batteries, getting a new look on everything will get that power play revamped and ready to go when March and April roll around here and things are getting down to the wire. Other than that, I'd have to say John Hayden is my new favorite player on the Chicago Blackhawks. Real grit, isn't afraid to drop the mitts. Mm-hmm. He's a fun player to watch. I don't really think I have anything else to add on that end of the hockey note. I think there's a few things I wanted to mention with baseball. There's not too much to talk about, so we're just gonna take a couple seconds, and then I know we got a rant I want to get you to. Not too much going. I'm a Chicago Cubs fan. Not too much going on with us lately. I know Arrieta still hasn't been signed. I know Garrett Cole just went to the Astros. He was a possible suitor for us for catcher, which is odd to me because of Contreras and how well he's been playing. Darvish, I think, has kept us in his choices. So it's I think the only thing that they needed to fix, really, in my opinion, was the fact that they had struggled with pitching. I think Davis did a really good job closing and picking up for Erzmendi after the championship team, and they just could not find consistency pitching this year, and the bats weren't going like they should have been. Schwarber had a very off year, which you didn't really see coming. But I think they'll make another playoff run again. I mean, to go from NLCS appearance to World Series title to NLCS appearance again 3 years in a row is nothing to complain about. I think right now they're just trying to fix a couple of key positions in their player personnel, and I think they'll be all right. I trust Theo. He's done well with Boston, clearly. But there's not too much. I don't think the Brewers have made any big pickups as of late. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to mention for baseball. Not too much going on right now. So one rant we wanted to get to was about a couple of plays here in the NFL season. We had Ezekiel Elliott and forward progress against the Green Bay Packers. You want to go ahead and elaborate on your...
All I want to say, well, first of all, we won that game. Aaron Rodgers took a dump on all the Cowboys fans, so I'm really not upset. But the forward progress rule is broken, and it should be fixed or reworked, or something should be happened, because the play was, it was 4th and 1, and they handed the ball to Zeke. And Zeke was on top of a pile, so he wasn't down. He reached the ball past the first down line and then pulled it back. And then he fell to the ground and he was down. And because of forward progress, they called it a first down. Even though when he was down, the ball was not past the first down line. And the way forward progress works is that the ball comes to a point where the player can't go any farther, and then the play is essentially dead once he hits that point. But the thing is, he was on top of a pile, and he reached past and then brought it back. So the play is still going on, and therefore forward progress. It's just like when they get a screen, and then like a guy catches it on the screen and then runs backwards, and then he can run forward still. And you wouldn't call the spot where he caught it first down. I mean, you wouldn't call the spot where he caught it the forward progress because he could still go past it, and he can still go behind too. So essentially, Zeke put the ball out, brought it back in, and somehow still got the yard, even though he shouldn't have. Because passing the first down line is not a discontinuation of play. I mean, if it was like the end zone, I would get it, because the end zone is...
He broke the plane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But when you just reach the ball out and bring it back and then hit the ground, that's not forward progress. Because you could still technically move forward or backward from that position. He could have fucking just jumped off the pile and then started running forward, and like, is that first down still the first down at that 1 yard, or does he keep going? Like... So the way forward progress works, it's like when receivers catch it over the middle too. Like someone run a 5 and in, and they'll catch it, and then they'll get dragged all the way back to the line of scrimmage. Like I get that because he gets possession at the line at that line, and then can't go any farther, and they earn that yardage right there. But Zeke didn't earn the yardage by just reaching out his hand and then immediately pulling it back, because that was his choice to pull it back. It's not that receiver's choice to get knocked all the way back to the line of scrimmage after 5 yards. So.
I think if Zeke, if he would have held the ball out and extended the whole time while he was going to the ground, then yeah, give him that yard.
Because then he would be down past the first yard line. Right. The ball would be down. But just the slight action of just reaching it out and pulling it back in, that's not forward progress.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was like a pivotal moment in the game. And we could have lost because of it, and then Aaron Rodgers decided to helicopter dick his way to the W. So...
Probably the best way to describe the end of that game. I know there was the Blake Martinez penalty. Was that also that game against Des Bryant?
Yes, yep.
That you got really upset about?
Yep, because
their helmets scraped each other essentially.
So Des, I think it was unnecessary roughness. I don't think it was because Des dropped it in the end zone. Yeah. And then Blake dove, and then he kind of nicked his helmet, and I think they called it a late hit or something, and it was no, that's garbage. The officiating for the first half of that game was...
I mean, Des kind of sold it too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but it's Des Bryant. What do you... He's going to take every inch you give him.
Yeah. Des Bryant. That's my quarterback.
Excuse me? All right. Anyway.
Just wrapping up here.
When a quarterback gets sacked, too, is the spot where he goes down... Or is it the spot where he first got touched? Which one's forward progress there? Because technically, you look at the end of the Alabama-Georgia game, that the Alabama's first play, he lost 15 yards because he got dragged down, which shouldn't be forward progress because he was technically touched the ball at the line of scrimmage. You gotta keep it consistent based on who has possession and where they are in the field. Rework the forward progress rule. That's all I ask. It's dirty.
They need to rework the overtime. In professional?
Oh, yeah, they should do college.
So dumb.
College is so...
I don't think it should be exactly like college in the fact that they start from the 25.
Yep.
I think the professionals, you should probably start from the 35 or the 40.
Yeah, maybe.
A little bit further back, but I think, you should have a chance for a rebuttal. I think the golden, especially in the playoffs, look at what the NHL does going from regular season to... during the playoffs, you have regular season. You have the 3-on-3 overtime, which has been a really good addition. The hockey is so fast. I mean, it's really fun to watch. And then when it goes to playoffs, it goes to 5-on-5, and then the first person to score wins.
Oh, okay.
So it's in my opinion, a more fair.
Yeah, it's like adding a series to it's like basketball.
It's like you're just going out and playing another period.
Exactly.
I mean, in the regular season, if no one scores in overtime in the 3-on-3, then they go to a shootout. But that's only in the regular season. It's 5-on-5 until someone scores in the playoffs. And I feel like that 10 minutes of, if you score, it's and the overtime rules are just really vague and, I shouldn't say vague, but they don't really make sense to the average person, so to speak, because it's if you score on your first possession within...
If you score a touchdown, game's over.
Yeah. But isn't there within X amount of minutes, the other team gets a rebuttal?
No. Well, yes.
Yeah,
it's if you score a touchdown, the other team gets it immediate. Wait a minute. Let me think. Holy shit.
I'm looking it up right now.
No, if you score a touchdown, game's over. If you kick a field goal, then they get a chance to come back.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also, I think, each team gets 3 minutes possession time. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much, if you score a touchdown, the game's over.
Yeah.
It's field goal, you have to go again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, which is how it is in college if the first team scores a field goal. Or, sorry. No. They changed it. Wasn't it like I remember there's past a certain overtime, you score a field goal. And no, you can't go for a field goal. Is it third overtime? You can't go for a field goal anymore?
I don't know.
It's not like that. I don't know.
When was the last time there was a third overtime game? What the hell?
But yeah, I think that's another thing they need to look at in the NFL is changing overtime. It's kind of dumb that it's sudden death. It's the same opinion on soccer where they do the 2 halves again, and then if no one scores, they go to a shootout, which I don't think games should be determined by shootouts. It's kind of dumb. It should be determined by who is the better team.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because you can put a goal in the back of the net from 15, 20 yards away doesn't mean you're the best team.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you wanted to mention quick?
No.
I just want to give a quick shout out to my boy Austin Louie. Want to give you a huge shout out to all the progress you've made lifting, buddy. It's amazing. I also want to give a huge shout out to Marissa Berg on the women's swim team at Wisconsin. They're out in Hawaii training right now. I'll shout out to Wisconsin softball. Hopefully you can actually win the Big Ten championship this year.
Oh my god. Holy shit.
I mean, it's a pretty tough conference, not gonna lie. Talk about vague Badger sports that are fun to watch. Women's softball.
Okay.
Great time. Make your way down to Goodman Diamond over by the hospital. Try and catch a game this spring. They're fun to watch. If you want to check us out on Twitter, you can tweet at us, interact with us. Connor won't interact with you. It'll probably end up being me. It's 50/50 podcast. Our handle's at 50_50 podcast. We're here on YouTube. We'll try and keep this at least a monthly thing.
This is going on YouTube? Okay, well, anyway.
We'll try and maybe find another outlet besides YouTube to put this podcast on, because I know some people like to use Google Play and iTunes because they can download it and listen to it on the go without having to use data. But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay frosty, my friends.